Welcome back to the One Trail at a Time podcast at this time slash live show. Today we got a great show for you guys. But before we get started, I actually want to give a shout out to the people that really keep me motivated. Can't even say really keep me motivated. The people that check on me to make sure I'm alive if I don't put up any content, and this is my way of really saying that I appreciate you guys. First off, I'm gonna start it off with Chris I. Chris I is always checking in with me, making sure that I'm alive, and really uh gives me some great detailed conversation when it comes down to what my topics of the day is. So it really lets me know at least I'm reaching one person. I'm hitting home with one person. If I'm hitting home with one, there has to be more. I appreciate you. Wally Brown, he's a new subscriber, and I think I'm welcome to the channel, Wally. Andrew Todd. I don't think I I don't think I didn't hit the send button on your last post. I apologize. Uh but I do understand. I just yeah, you being on the other side of the pond and having to pay import tax, that's going to be really, yeah, I can't imagine that. Although and I think right now the US and Europe has a quiet tariff war right now going on as well. So it's man, we're all messed up in the world right now. And Mark L, he's been here a while. He loves the Cloud9 seat. We talked about seat posts and things like that. Um and I keep promising you guys this whole walk around of the bike, and I promise you I will get to it. But we had a huge snowstorm last week, and everyone in the world I think was affected by this snowstorm at one point or the other, which kind of allowed me to play in the snow more, which kind of made me realize that there's a broader conversation that we need to have, and that conversation is actually bike maintenance. uh as I brought my bike out of the snow for the last time and I was cleaning everything up, drying it off, I thought about things that people don't think about necessarily, or uh don't see the importance of. Now, I am this from the perspective that I come from. Now, I'm an older gentleman, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to an older crowd. And if you found me in the last year or two, uh, you know that I purchased a Rad Rover, which isn't a cheap bike. And you look at that nice ticket price of $1,500, $1,600, whatever it was when I paid for it at the time, and you want to invest in it, but also protect your investment at the same time. So, with that being said, got alerts and junk. With that being said, we have a few things. I went out in the snow. I went out in the snow once or twice. And if you're like me, you didn't necessarily you took a little bit of extra time. I'm getting a little lazier as I get old. I get comfortable. I do get a little lazier, but I do take the time out to take care of some necessary items on uh, my said bike. And if you're like me, when I first started off, when I first got back into, first off, when I was younger, never really paid attention to real maintenance of the bike. Now that I have this bike, I treat it as my car, taking care of the necessary maintenance, uh, you know, dealing with brakes and air pressure and uh, pedals. Well, different from a car, but making sure my pedals, making sure everything is tight on the bike, making sure that nothing is stuck. Being that I use clip-on pedals, I have to keep those lubed. So especially since I go through water and stuff regularly, I have to make sure that there's lube so that my feet don't get stuck in the pedals, stuck being attached to the pedals. So we all know by now that water isn't metal's friend, and that causes rust, that causes corrosion, which ultimately leads to the uh, life expectancy of your bike. So we're going to jump right into our first things that we need to pay attention to on the bike, which is the drivetrain, which is your chain. And we'll get into the cog a little later. That's a broader conversation. So we're not going to talk about the cog right now. We're just going to talk about um, a chain cleaning kit. Now, this is my specific one that I use right now to this day. It has the chain cleaning tool, which all you do is you put a little water in it. It goes around the chain and you use the cranks, run the chain through it, and it scrubs it really well. It has a detergent that helps loosen and clean dirt. Your next important thing, very, very important thing, which is your chain lube. Chain lube is very, very important. Very, 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 very important. And using the proper lube is even more important. WD-40, though we use it to stop squeaks and squeals and loosen things up, it is not. The regular WD-40 is not a lubricant. It is a penetration solution that breaks down rust, and it also will move oil. It's basically a nice degreaser. Now, WD-40 does make a chain lubricant, and it spells it out on the can of which one it is. I haven't had any experience with it, so I don't know if it is worth you spending your money on. But like I said, this chain lube right here, this finish line, is what I use on a regular basis. I swear on it, and it's not that expensive. Also, everything that I'm going to talk about today is everything that I have used, and I'm saying have used because there's on this next slide, I'm a little different on some of the things, and we'll talk about it. But with everything that I'm going to talk about, I have links in the description. You can go and check it out. There are Amazon affiliate links, and this isn't a sales pitch, but I don't tend to talk about things that I don't use currently or haven't used in the past. So anything that I promote or talk about are things that I have personally used and I stand behind. So if you want to check out some of these products, the links will be in the description. This isn't a sales pitch, but if you do purchase something off of those links, it does help out me and it helps out the channel more than it helps out me because it's not like I get a lot out of it, but it helps me to maintain the channel and maintain parts. Shameless plug. Um, so the next thing that we're going to jump into are brake cables and brake shifting cables. Both of these things are very important, and I'm going to tell you. So the shifting cable, that's a little different. One of the If you still use cable actuated brakes, then you should definitely pay attention. If you have a Red Rover, and I'm not sure about a lot of the other bikes, but the Red Rover specifically, uh, the the portion of the cable that locks into the handle, uh, it's not exposed, and so you can't see what's going on. There is a lot of rubbing going on going on under there. And this was something that I didn't pay attention to much. Thankfully, story behind it, thankfully I caught it in time. I just happened to be doing a brake job, and this is when I still had the June Tech hybrid hydraulics. And I took those I just loosened up the cable and I just was giving it a once over, and inside of the brake lever itself, in the housing, there was some serious fraying going on. And and that's just one, just the cables just stretching, especially the way that I was riding, putting a death grip on at times. Uh, it's just certain things that you definitely have to pay attention to, and that's some serious maintenance. Um, your cables are going to stretch out just from you using them. They're going to just they're going to wear. It's a mechanical part. It's going to wear the more you use it. If you have hundreds of miles, I know those things should last a very long time, but fixing those or changing those cables out doesn't take long. It's not very difficult, and a peace of mind. I guarantee if you take your bike apart from time to time, you will notice that you have some fraying going on. You might as well just swap that thing out. Okay. So that lube works. Is that so the lube that I have, it's kind of a dry lube. It's the lube that you're referring to. Is it a wet lube? This is something you is how does Chris, can you give me a little bit more detail about the lube that you use? Is it more of a dry lube once it's on the chain? Is it something that does it collect dust at all? Is Does it work well for you? Is it something I should check out for myself? Do you highly recommend it? That's what I'm getting at. Um, your cable, your shifting cable, I I've had great luck with that so far. Mostly I've only had brake cables that I've needed to change out, but give your bike, it's that time of the year. If you hadn't ridden it all winter, that's okay. Um, if you hadn't ridden your bike all winter, that's okay. If you just put it up because it's too cold, I understand. My bones don't feel the same in the cold either. Uh, but it's time for you to pull your bike back out, and there's just things that we all just need to look at, make sure everything straight. Next thing on the list, It's an aerosol type. Okay. Okay. I'll check that lube out. I'm not afraid of it. I'll check it out and see how I like it. Next thing on the list. And I'm sorry for everyone that has different breaks and different parts. Everything that I'm talking about right now, everything that I'm talking about is things that I use. So I ride the Rad Rover. Uh, it's a 26-inch fat tire bike. Therefore, a lot of the things that I am referring to leads back to the Rad Rover and everything that goes along with it. Um, so these Tetro brakes go they are the replacement for the cable actuated brakes that come stock on the Rad Rover. Although I don't use these anymore, a lot of folks have not upgraded their brakes, which again, upgrading is the wrong word. There's a lot of people that haven't done any modifications to their bike, therefore it is still stock, which these are the pads that you will use for it. I tried to kind of dig around and do some research to see if there is a cheaper pad out there. There are cheaper pads out there, but there wasn't enough data on them enough for me to promote. Now, these are the Tetros, the ones that come straight from the manufacturer. Uh, I think what I have on there, if you click the link, it's only for one. You have to buy two to do a full set. If you want to do a full, if you are using a different type of e-bike, um, these Tetros aren't the ones for you. If you're riding some sort of a Shimano or Zoom, um, a June Tech or something like that, or a Zoom. I think the Zoom and the June Techs are kind of the same thing. Whatever. Um, if you're using any one of those, then you have to get the pads more specific for you. Bottom line is inspect your brake pads, especially if you did a lot of riding. If you rode in wet conditions, you're gonna have some rust build up on them. Like I said in the beginning, water is not metal's friend, especially if you're washing your bike. Take a look at your brake pads. If you have a decent amount of miles on it, go ahead and swap them out. If you ride your bike hard, go ahead and swap them out. Jumping into my next item on this slide, which is a inner tube. Oh, this inner tube. I don't have anything bad to say about inner tubes, but the thing that I didn't throw in here and it just dawned on me is that uh, if you have an inner tube that's nice and patched up that you have for a while, that's really not necessary. If you are thinking about buying another inner tube just to have one spare, it's not necessarily a bad idea. Okay. This is the size that you need. This is where you can get it. If you were thinking about swapping out inner tubes or you just patched up one too many times. If it's time for you to get a new set of tires, controversial statement coming up. If you are thinking about getting a new set of tires because your tread is worn on the ones that you have, and you have a Red Rover or Rad Power Bikes, anything, Pardon me. If you have a red power bikes, anything, I would get their newest tire that have the lining already built in, so to kind of slow down punctures. And I say that for a reason. Segue into right now, I use a Mr. Tuffy liner in my tire now. It is a love-hate relationship. I love the fact that it gives me a little bit of protection for my inner tube. The hate is it adds a little bit of weight, but most off it actually throws the tire or the rim, the wheel as a whole, out of balance. There is a small portion of it that overlaps that gives you more material. Of course, I mean, so you have more material in one area, which adds weight. And if you, especially on your back wheel, if you crank your pedal, you can see it just throwing it out of whack every time it gets to a certain point. Which isn't a, it's not a horrible thing. You really wouldn't notice much. Uh, but in my situation, I run my tires at different pressures at different times, and it definitely makes the tires ride differently, and it deforms the tires at lower pressures. I know someone's going to say that can't be true, but this is coming from my experience, and I have definitely noticed it sliding around in there at lower pressures and doing some of the wild things that I do at times. So that's really my things that you guys really need to be looking at. There's a few more really big items. Not really big. Tangent time. There's different things that we all need to be looking at right now as far as bike maintenance. Things that we should be doing on a regular basis, which is making sure that your pedals are tight. You may want to work your pedals, meaning that you should take your pedals off, make and re-grease them, clean them up a little bit, re-grease them, and put them back on, just to make sure that if you really ever need to take them off, you're able to. They're not seized up because of what? Water isn't metal's friend, rust, seizing. Um, Making sure I didn't really touch on the cog because, like I said, that is a deeper conversation, but also making sure that that is free from dirt and debris, and making sure that that stays relatively lubed up. You don't want to over lube that, because that will collect dirt and stop things from shifting. Well, you want to make sure that you, like I said, the cables. It's a mechanical system. Things stretch, things loosen, things break. Make sure that before you go out on those longer trips, at least if you ride your bike a lot, give it a once over before you go out. Make sure that your brakes are functioning correctly. Make sure that however you set your bike up in the beginning of the season, just say, since that's what we're really aiming for right now, wherever you have your bike set up at the beginning of the season, make sure that wherever you want your brakes to engage, make sure that that's where it's at pretty much all the time. By either, you have your two adjustments. If we're talking about the stock things, you have your adjustments at the brake lever itself, and then you have one down at the caliper. So, dealing with adjusting those, making sure things are tight or great, but also take your wheels off. Look at those pads. The pads don't cost that much. If you buy some pads once a year, every 2 years, whatever, do what you have to do. Um, if you are using the cheaper pad, the cheaper, that's not the right word. if you were using the stock calipers that came with the Rads bikes, I don't know if there's a lot of different pad options. And if you're not a super aggressive rider, that the pad options really don't make a whole lot of sense. The difference in between your pad types, your Kevlar, I guess that's one of those things that a lot of people may want to know the difference if you are going down the rabbit hole of getting new brakes. What's the difference in between Kevlar, semi-metallic, metallic, and I forget the other one offhand right now. But if you're looking at these types of pads, what are they good for? What's the benefits? What are the pros and cons? Every brake material works a little differently. So, um, people that I have talked to, and these are people that do some serious downhill type things, uh, their beef, not even their beef, but when they talk about Kevlar brakes, they say, man, Kevlar brakes are good until they get hot. They're still good, but they work a lot better when they're cooler. I haven't personally I haven't personally experienced that, so I cannot say if that is necessarily the case. But I am one that will listen to someone with experience and roll with it. Chris, that is a great point. You put your overlap on the opposite side of the valve stem. I tried. That does help. It does help. It does help. Uh to help counterbalance it. I have tried that. I've just really noticed that it's like it just really I I haven't personally been affected by it being out of balance that way with weight versus just the Tuffy liner in it just deforming the tire at times. That's been like my real worry. And when it deforms like that, it kind of worries me that possibly it can pinch the inner tube. Um, and that may be just my paranoia. Hold on. I should say that I think it would aid in help pinch the inner tube. I don't know that to be true. I don't know it to be true or not, but I just feel like I just feel it in my heart at times that that would be a thing. So, um, guys, I know I have been talking about this great ride that I did at Lost Valley State Park, and as every time I start to upload the video, I kind of watch the video a few times. First off, the video is pretty long. That's number one. The video is pretty long. The second part of it is, so that's also a video that I wiped out, and I took a pedal strike, and it threw me off. I rode up high on a bank and came down very awkwardly, and I lost the bike and just tumbled like a weed. And I hit pretty hard, and I kind of jammed up my shoulder, kind of tweaked it really good to be exact. Um, but the more I watch it, the more I look at things, and there's a lot of lessons, and there's so much I want to analyze with the video, and it's like I want to put it out, but I don't know how. It's more of talking about what went wrong versus how much fun I had. Because the first half of the video is me enjoying the ride. The second half of the video is after I hit the ground, me hurting my shoulder and me trying to just get out of there with, this terrain that's a little difficult to navigate and with a bum shoulder at this point. So that was interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm just trying to figure out how to put that out. But I think I just have these other videos more snow videos, things like that, that I think that I'll just put out and let you have that. And I'll try to figure out how to put out my my lesson plan on how not to be an idiot, and when things go wrong, how do you survive it? A couple things that I've learned about the most important thing that I have learned, and this I highly doubt that this just works with or deals with the Red Rover. I'm going to say that any bike that you buy stock that has the cutoff integrated into the handle, into the brake lever, guarantee you that those brakes have to make it to a probably halfway close point or halfway engaged. Okay, hold on. I think you would have to engage the brake levers to the point of almost hard stop before it cuts off the motor. That was just a little bit of knowledge that I came with as I swapped out my stock levers to the Shimano's that I am rolling with now. And that is I believe that's another reason why I have taken a couple of extra tumbles, because I thought that the brakes were shutting off the motor and I was just free pedaling, and I actually wasn't. Or just some weird stuff, just a lot of different there's just a lot of things that I have done wrong in my life that was like, very, very stupid, to say the least. And I really don't know what to say. I do it for you guys. I go out there and almost kill myself for your viewing pleasure. And I may make the news one day if I hurt myself. I wish that upon no one. That's gonna do it for me today. Hey guys, love you guys. Live your lives one trail at a time, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.